Hey, welcome back, Phenomenons. This is Frank. So listen, in this video, I thought I would create a series kind of showcasing a particular music or category style, genre style, where I have an original and I also have an enhanced version. And why is to really piggyback off a previous video that I did that I have right up here, kind of explain the basics of utilizing parentheses and brackets to basically have more control over the music that you create inside Suno. So with that, I'm going to jump right into Suno, and here the first category of music that we're going to use is vintage blend. I love vintage, old time kind of style music, and so we're going to put Suno to the test here. And I've got some pre-work done, and so those of you guys that know, right, here's the basics. You got different ways to use Suno. You can use simple, you can use custom. Highly recommend you use the custom mode. And you also have the version that you're going to be using here. Now it's going to differ from mine. So if you're brand new to Suno, right, and you clicked on the actual link inside a pinned comment at the top of this video, that's going to get you started with Suno, get you some free credits, get registered with your Google account and follow along. Now, when you do follow along, you're going to notice that if you're in a free account, you're going to only use or have available to you version 3.5 is your max, okay? Now, the reason why I tell you that too is because based off of the actual version that you're utilizing is going to depend on the interface of what you actually are seeing versus what you're seeing with mine, if it's any different from using version 4.5, right? So the interface is going to be different. Let me point out where. Right here inside styles, okay, this is going to be one where it's really, really critical that you understand that the max amount of characters that you use inside styles is going to be 200 characters, which is very limited, okay? In addition to that, on a paid plan, you're going to have 1,000 characters, and you're also going to have this magic wand. So for example, if I go in here and I just type in, hey, I want this song to have an orchestra feel, some violins, I want it to be emotional, right? A good start right here. We know that anytime you're dealing with AI, right, it's all about the prompt, right? The details in the prompt is going to give you ultimately the better output. And so here, this magic wand helps you enhance this. Now, with time, you're going to realize that this isn't all that great either, but this is a good start, a better start than having just 3 keywords, okay? Now, you could definitely go in here. You can also use a third-party generator, right, to actually generate better text, especially when you have more room on a pro account, when you have 1,000 characters versus just 200. Now, if you only have 200 on the free account, you're definitely going to want to use something like ChatGPT and say, hey, this 700-word kind of a description you gave me, can you squeeze it into 200 characters? And if it can, which it likely will, you can just go back in here and paste that, and then you're set to go. All right, so the other difference, remember, I'm only pointing out the differences here. The other difference is going to be right here under advanced options. You got these sliders. You got a weirdness slider and a style influence slider. We're in a separate video. I talked to you and I'll walk you through kind of the importance of these. I love these, didn't like them when they first came out. But again, if you want more control of the music you generate, I highly recommend that you just start utilizing these. Even after you run something that you really like, hey, go back in here, rerun it again by adjusting these sliders so that you get a good kind of a feel at what it's capable of doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is click right here on the plus sign right here. I've got some saved prompts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll right down here till I get to the original, okay? I'm going to scroll right down here to enter song title real quick. I'm going to put Guided by the Light. And I am going to type original, okay? And now let's talk about this. So as we scroll up right here, right? You may not have this again if you're on a free account, but I have female vocal selected, weirdness at 35%, style influence at 85%. What I don't want in the song to show up is EDM, hard rock, trap, and hyper pop, okay? And then as I scroll up, I'm right here under styles, okay? So here, I started very similar to the one I just showed you earlier where I keyed in like 3 or 4 words and I hit this magic wand and then this is what it came with. Why I did that is because, well, that's what typical brand new users do. And even though this may seem rather small, you still get some really good output, especially if you're using version 4.5 plus, okay? Now, if I go up to the very top, I've got some lyrics. Remember, I mentioned not only can you actually use like ChatGPT, right, or a whole bunch of other third-party prompt generators, right, to create lyrics. As a matter of fact, ChatGPT is probably one that is kind of flat compared to a lot of the other ones, right? But I used ChatGPT to kind of give me some lyrics here, okay? In addition to that, what I had it do was kind of break down each section, right? So this video too is to point out brackets and parentheses use. As you can see right here under lyrics, right? we have the use of brackets. Well, just from looking at it, you can tell how they're being used, and that's to identify different sections of the actual song. So in your typical song, you have an intro, you have a verse, you have pre-chorus, you have chorus, you have your bridge, you have your final chorus, and you have your outro, okay? Do you have to use all of these? Absolutely not, right? But that's kind of your typical kind of a template, okay? Now, if I go right back up here, we know that in chorus, anytime I generate a song, I always go and try to find the chorus. And the reason why is because that's where your hook is gonna typically lie, right? Whether it's gonna be your hook in your actual lyrics or it's gonna be your hook in your actual music, okay? And or both, right? So this is really super important, okay? And then the other parts that are important is, of course, the emphasis that you put in each section of your song. So here we have the basics where we say, hey, this right here, these two kind of sentences right here are basically the intro, okay? Now we go to verse. Verse looks a little bit different. And so what's happening in verse is that when you get to this verse, what I want to be able to hear is kind of that groove kind of a style, right? Warm, upright bass kind of play. Now, because this is a vintage blend, I am almost going to tell you that typically vintage blend runs either really slow or super fast, right? So in some of that song, if it's running really slow when I'm using the word warm, well, you might not see that much of an adjustment as you would anything else, okay? So just kind of an idea of, again, just utilizing the use of brackets and parentheses. And again, we have pre-chorus, chorus, bridge. We went through all that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to just go ahead and click on generate. Now, the other thing we're going to do is I'm going to just have you listen to these. Let's go right up here. So what we're going to be listening for is this part right here, the only use of brackets. Now, again, the use of brackets is really super important because, and let me see if I can't do that now because it hasn't fully generated. Once you have the timestamp down here, for those of y'all that are brand new and are following along, once you have the timestamp right here, that means it's done processing. But once you have the actual thumbnail and the actual little circular dot here, you can actually start listening. So we're gonna go ahead and start listening to the first one, and we're scrolled up to the very top. So this is what we're listening for. Here we go.
Quiet calling through the night, a steady glow, steps on the old church floor, candles flicker. I ask for more, a prayer that whispers in my chest. Faith is the anchor. I find my rest. Even when the dark feels near, a melody washes fear. Guided by the light, I walk on steady ground. Guided by the light, where lost is found. Guided by the light, it all feels right.
All right, so there you had some pretty good stuff, right? It happened just as we thought it would happen. As a matter of fact, without kind of having any emphasis centered around the chorus and the hook, this did a pretty good job of the actual hook, whereas opposed to other times, it doesn't. Either kind of the music doesn't support it, right, to give you that oomph, right, or the actual lyrics are kind of just flat and kind of emotion. And so those are the things that you'll typically kind of hear. Anyway, in my own experience, that's what I'm hearing. So let's just kind of briefly listen to this one here, and then we will do the next enhanced version.
I hear the quiet calling through the night, a steady glow, steps on the old church floor, candles flicker. I ask for more,
right? So you had a good listen to the actual original, right? And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go just show you kind of the enhanced version, what we ended up doing here. And so I'm going to label these here. And so let's scroll up. So what we did here, right, is keep it all the same. So we actually have the exclusions going to be the same. The vocal gender, of course, is the same. The weirdness sliders at 35% stayed the same. Same thing with the style influence, stayed the same at 85%. Right now, here's where you're going to notice some difference here in the music style. Right, so in the music style up at the very top, I automatically just briefly call out the actual vocal style. Okay, so I want a vintage female vocal delivery. Okay, you can add words like emotional. You can add words more like a high pitched or low bass tone or whatever. You can add whatever you want, right, to really identify the actual vocals. Okay, now just remember, you got 1,000 characters. The way I thought about it was, why not put the 1,000 characters to use the best that I could? So here is where I implemented the use of brackets, right? And sometimes parentheses, and I don't think I had any parentheses. Now, up at the very top here, let's talk about how I laid this out. So when it comes to understanding brackets and parentheses, right, your parentheses is going to be more of kind of a wish list, right? Doesn't always happen. You can request it, but it doesn't always get approved. Almost like PTO time at work, right? Whereas opposed to your brackets, it's more of your bolder, more like, hey, this is kind of a priority. We talk about priority. And then also kind of just think of your brackets and your parentheses. If you want some sort of metaphoric way to view it, is one is more of structural, okay? Kind of the structure part of it. And then whereas opposed to you have your structure with brackets and then you have your paint with parentheses, okay? Where as opposed your paint is going to add that kind of a little bit of that influence, right? And so it's going to be very different too in your actual music style as it shows up over here in your actual lyrics, okay? So let's take a quick snapshot of the lyrics real quick. So here we have the intro. Unlike the last intro, we have kind of a request of what we want it to sound like. And now, yes, even though you use the boldness of the actual brackets, doesn't always sometimes get approved, right? It just doesn't sometimes happen. And why I find that happens is because anytime you click create, you always have two different variations. So if it doesn't happen here, more than likely it's going to happen in your next variation, okay? But again, you can use brackets and parentheses to go through here, sit down, and make it so that it does happen when you want it to happen, right? It just takes a lot more time in order for you to do that. Then right down here, you've got the actual lyrics. So again, anything outside of brackets and parentheses is going to be picked up as lyrics, okay? Now here we have our first set of parentheses, right? Where we're actually saying, I hear the quiet calling, whispering my name. So here, a couple things are going to happen, or one of the things are going to happen. One is going to have, you're actually going to have maybe an echo, or they're going to sing right through it. I hear the quiet calling, whispering my name, right? Or you're going to have kind of the backup vocals show up in that sense. So it's going to be one of those. Now, again, your parentheses is kind of the wish list. I'm hoping that the main vocalist will sing, I hear the quiet calling, and then you have kind of this faint backup vocal sing, whispering my name. Okay, this is what I'm hoping for. That's what the parentheses are for, right? Man, but there's 3 or 4 other people taking vacation time the same time as you, Frank. So I don't know. We're going to try to do the best we can. You heard that line, right? All right, so down here you have the verse, warm, upright bass groove that kind of stays the same. Again, if it doesn't show up in one variation, it will likely show up in another. And then right here you have pre-chorus. And then here is where I want to talk about like the hook. Right? Anytime you have the chorus is where your hook lies, whether it's going to be the hook in your actual lyrics or the vocals, or it's going to be hook in that beat, okay, or that song, that kind of a tune, right? The actual instrumentals, right? Now here, what I want to make sure that happens here is I'm saying to Suno, hey, this is my hook, okay? So this is where I want oomph in the vocals and also oomph in the actual music. So you should hear this really stand out. Okay, and then have whatever supporting music in front of it or after it, right? And then, of course, you have your bridge. So this is kind of what we're looking for. Again, because this is my hook and it's a chorus, well, you should hear it again later on. This is what the asterisks are for, the little stars here, right? And that's kind of it. So with that, I'm going to generate this here. And while that's generating, yeah, I don't want to just exit out of here because it might not keep all this, but I do want to show you the actual editor, right, in the actual original, and we'll show you that here in just a bit. So now that we have the actual thumbnail and the actual dot, we can start listening. So let's go. Let's listen to this first one. Let me scroll up, make sure I'm all set.
I hear the quiet calling, whispering my name. Through the night, a steady glow. Steps on the old church floor. Candles flicker. I ask for more. A prayer that whispers in my chest. Faith is the anchor. I find my rest. Even when the dark feels near, a melody washes fear. Guided by the light, I walk on steady ground. Guided by the light, where lost is found. Guided by the light, it all feels right.
All right, so there you go. That's the first version. As you notice too, the actual music, just in general, when you hit each section of the song, there's just more happening. Also, like in the background, right? And here, let's just listen to the next one and see how this one sounds.
I hear the quiet calling, whispering my name. Through the night, a steady glow. Steps on the old church floor. Candles flicker. I ask for more. A prayer that whispers in my chest. Faith is the anchor. I find my rest. Even when the dark feels near. A melody washes fear. Guided by the light, I walk on steady ground. Guided by the light, where lost is found. Guided by the light, it all feels
All right, so there's your two different variations of the more enhanced song, and through using the brackets and parentheses. Again, I think I said earlier I didn't have that much parentheses kind of showing up. But the biggest thing is really truly understanding too, what is really most important is, again, the brackets. You're definitely going to use a lot more of the brackets. And then also calling out the actual hook, right? Even when you're utilizing an instrumental, you could do the exact same. Now, what I wanted to do is take the original right down here, right, of what I showed you. And let's go in, for example, let's go in right here. And you know what, the quicker way is just to click right here on edit, okay, on the original. And this is what I mean. When you have the brackets kind of breaking down each section, it makes it a lot easier for you to actually go through and do your editing, because it broke it down right here by color, right? So here you have your intro, right? And your intro is kind of separated right here is how it did it. Your verse, your pre-chorus, then you have your chorus, okay? Then you have your bridge, your final chorus, okay? And then of course, your outro, you know, if you choose to have an outro, what have you. Whereas opposed to if I didn't have these identified, right, it would just be one large block. And then I would have to go in and change things around. And again, with editing, right, you can just grab and you can move this around wherever you want, right? You can hit play, you can readjust and so on and so forth, right, with the actual editor. So with that, yeah, that's kind of it. So I want to go right back into workspaces right here. These are the 4 that I actually generated. I think that pretty much wraps up this video. You got to see 2 different variations as well as vintage blend, kind of one of my favorite music categories. So with that, if you have any comments down below, please drop them. Also, leave me a like. And if you'll do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon, because anytime I'm playing around with this or kind of just showcasing different variations of different music genres, hey, you're the first to know about it. I'm Frank with The Phenomenon. Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the next one.